1 year later, we reconvene for more ReZero news. And just like last year, let's talk about more things that were cut from the ReZero anime that will be helpful for you to know, whether it be to flesh out your understanding of important characters coming up, or to help you theory craft about the vast world of ReZero. Let's get started. Number 1 is going to be Satella's reason for loving Subaru. First and foremost, let's talk about Satella, one of the characters most impacted by the adaptation, and unfortunately, it is unlikely that her scenes can be re-added, as they were sort of time-sensitive. During the witches' tea party scene with all the witches, as Satella comes out, Subaru begins to break down as he wants to force the role of taking all of the pain on himself alone. If he lost Return by Death, what else would he have to offer, he wonders. He would say to Satella, "You know, don't you? I don't have any power, no smarts or special skills either. I don't have a single advantage of my own. I don't have anything but the Return by Death ability you gave me. That's why the only thing I can pay with is my own life. If I'm hurt more than other people, if I see more things than other people, if I can run around protecting everyone, then no one but me has to go through this awful stuff. That's all I want." He collapses to the ground as the crushing loss of Rem washes over him, and the other witches begin to speculate if this is Satella or the Witch of Envy, because don't forget, they are two separate personalities. She kneels down to tell him everything. "I love you because you gave me light, because you took my hand and you taught me about the world outside. Because when I trembled on lonely nights, you never stopped holding my hand, because when I felt lonely, you kissed me and said that I wasn't alone. You gave me so many things, that's why I love you, because you gave me everything." This makes Subaru enraged, because he simply couldn't understand. He had never met this woman before, and he lashes out at her. How dare she tie him to memories he doesn't have? Sound familiar? You can probably see why this love confession should have been kept in the anime. It's a little bit more detailed than just "you gave me everything." It's a direct mirror to the types of things that Subaru from an arc prior was dishing out to everyone else. And it gives us a bit of speculating room for the lore of Satella. A very interesting confession, and not all that was cut for her. Number 2 are the Shadow Garden scenes. More often than not, at times that Subaru experiences the cessation of existence, he can be transported to a strange world not like this one. He would be left in darkness, trapped with just his incorporeal floating mind. The first time this happened was after he jumped off the cliff in Arc 2. He first experienced nothingness because he had no eyes, nor hands or feet, or any part of his body, yet without eyes, a silhouette would emerge in front of his mind, and to that silhouette, his mind would gain a strong desire, while still being aware of nothing. The figure would whisper to him, telling him that they cannot meet him. Not yet. The second time would be in the same arc. After being knocked out when Roswaal saves the day, he ends up in that black space once again. Just like last time, there was no one. There was nothing. Nothing began, nothing ended, and Subaru's mind drifted in the world of darkness, but in front of him someone stood. The shape of a woman. She reached out and grazed his mind and gave him the feeling of wanting to cry, wanting to be swallowed whole by the wriggling shadow. But there was another shadow embracing him from behind, and when its fingers contacted his mind, the shadow before him faded away. This was the most Subaru could hear in the soundless world. The third time would be near the start of Arc 3. After Subaru was frozen by Puck in the iconic Episode 15 scene, he went back to that deep darkness. A crack appeared in the space, tearing apart the world of eternal darkness, and a silhouette came out of it. When he witnessed her, his emotions welled up, and he felt the overwhelming need to embrace her, but he lacked the legs to rush to her, or the arms to hold her. She reached out to embrace him, and joy filled every crack of his consciousness, and that's when she said it, "I love you." The fourth time he would encounter Satella would be after he was mercy killed by Julius for having pedal juice take over his body. Once again, he had no body to utilize, but still, a voice penetrated deep into his heart. "I love you," and those words wrenched his heart, filling it with such longing that it threatened to shatter. In his floating mind he had these thoughts. Sloth, because I cannot wipe away your tears. Lust, because I want us to melt together to become one. Gluttony, because I want to consume you, to take all of you for myself. Greed, because I want to have everything that I love. Wrath, because I cannot forgive the absurdity of it all. Pride, because I scorn everything that is not you. And envy, because that is all I feel for the world that embraces you. That instant, empty space warped, then shattered, as irreversible time began to flow backward. Where he had ended in darkness, light was born, and if he walked toward it, the world would greet him once more, and the voice called out again, with repeated "I love yous." He turned his back on the voice and walked forward. Surely, one day he would take her hand, and Natsuki Subaru's life began anew. The fifth Shadow Garden scene would come at the very end of Arc 3 when the magic stones explode. Again, he could hear the repeated "I love yous." He wanted to respond to her love, however, a voice called his name, a different voice, and then a white light that should not exist in the land of darkness was born. He wanted to respond to the shadow's love, but he had to respond to the love of the light. He would think to himself, remember who you are, remember what you have to do, remember the words you must exchange, and the world where you belong. He couldn't stay there, so, with non-existent lips, he spoke to the shadow. "Next time, I'll probably come to meet you." And the shadow replied, "I'll be waiting." And that makes for all of the Shadow Garden scenes in the ReZero anime that should have been played. They are super, super interesting scenes that give us a lot to chew on. Subaru doesn't seem to have an exact memory of what happens in these either, as in Arc 4, Echidna says that he is in her dream and that he knows of a similar place, and he responds that he doesn't know what she's referring to, but also she's not wrong. We have no idea what the Shadow Garden really entails, but it seems to be a place dedicated to hosting discussions between Satella and Subaru. Number 3 is the Royal Capital stuff. The Royal Capital scene where Subaru makes a fool of himself has quite a few cuts in order to save some runtime so that the episode could end on Emilia and Subaru's falling out. On top of Felt's big character trait being cut that we touched on in another video, basically everything from the candidates here was cut. They basically all get to have some speeches that establish them as political candidates. I think the anime covered some of it, so if you hear something that sounds familiar, that's why. Krush is the head of a family of dukes and duchesses that have supported Lagunica since early in its history, and at the time she essentially served as the write-in for Victor. She, however, introduces an interesting wrench in that prospect, stating that the kingdom has been far too reliant on the covenant made with the dragon, and due to it the nation has become significantly weaker. Of course, considering this is the Dragon Kingdom, people here are very skeptical of this idea. She would say, quote, "If the nation is to crumble without the dragon, we should become the dragon ourselves." Priscilla would be up next, being referred to as the Bloody Bride. She had received her now-dead husband's estate of the Burial Domain. We hear that her knight Aldebaran was a former gladiator from the gladiator island of Wallachia, a veteran of 10 years, hence why he dons the helmet. Priscilla is extraordinarily confident in her own victory, stating that it is something predestined and that serving her means siding with the winner. And Al brings up how, after her husband's passing and his domain fell into her hands, the Burial Domain has been thriving like never before. Following Priscilla would be Anastasia. She informs the council that she was born in Kararagi, to the lowest class in the League of Free Trading Cities. She imposed on Lagunica via commerce, running the Hoshin Company, her history harkening back to an ancient figure known as Hoshin of the Wastes, hence why she takes his last name. Julius argues that Anastasia's commercial genius is a divine gift, and then she further argues that her goal is one of greed. On that path of discovery, she wants to own a country of her own, as simple as that. The next candidate would of course be Emilia, however this would go quite a bit differently than it went in the anime. Roswaal is asked of her origin, and naturally upon hearing that she is a half-elf, some people are beyond shocked. Roswaal, however, continues prodding further, saying that she is a pawn upon the chessboard, and that she has no real chance of succeeding. This is what initially causes Subaru to lash out, but where it differs is that Roswaal threatens to drill this lesson into him, blasting a fireball towards him that would surely kill him. When the fireball was going to hit him, it was wiped out by a pale blue glow. Everyone in the hall noticed it, the biting cold spreading throughout, manifesting the Great Spirit's frigid anger. Puck had come out of his crystal, lambasting the audience for saying these things to his daughter. The council refers to Puck as the Beast of the End. Roswaal informs the council that one of the Great Spirits is currently in contract with Emilia, something that shocks them greatly, and if it weren't for Emilia's pleas, Puck would have turned them all to ice. This was an explicit play from Roswaal to show the rulers of the nation the true potential of Emilia, to show the nation that due to Emilia's own benevolence, the nation is not frozen still. A play used to ask for fair treatment, something that follows with her desire to make Lagunica a fair and non-discriminatory nation. Number 4 is going to be the Arc 4 Emilia and Subaru talk. In my opinion, this is a really important scene for the foundation of Subaru and Emilia's relationship going forward, and super important for aspects of Subaru's character that are yet to come. After having the revelation that everything has been planned by Roswaal since Arc 1, Subaru was left to walk under the moonlight. He thinks about how everything Roswaal had done was because he knew Subaru would save Emilia, and something was nagging at him, but before he could think more on it, Emilia called out to him. What was she doing out on a night like this, he wondered, and that's when part of it hit him. Subaru had been invited to the tea party, reaffirmed his bond with Patrochet, heard Ryuzu's secret, learned Roswaal was the mastermind, and amid those various actions, Emilia had not been sitting still either. That was an obvious thing, and yet at that moment, it struck Subaru with great clarity. Emilia asks Subaru what's wrong, and he doesn't really give in, as is tradition. She laments her own lack of resolve, that she ran into these trials with no preparation, but Subaru stops her. If you want to run, isn't that fine? If you don't want to do it, what's wrong with running away? By forcing yourself to face something you don't want to, will you conquer it someday? Do you have to overcome it? The words of Subaru's poured out. He himself wasn't even sure what he was trying to say. Even Emilia's determination, her will, and her nobility were toys in someone else's game. He says it would be best if he could take the trial in her place, but it doesn't look like that's going to be possible. He doesn't want her to go through hard, bad things, so he wants her to trust him. She asks him why he does all this, and says because he loves her, and she responds with a simple, "I know," and she could do her best because she knows. However, she rejects that kindness. He was completely astounded as Emilia reinforced that this is her goal, and she wants to put in the hard work. She doesn't want him to do everything for her, and she wants to find her own path. Subaru's mind wanted to resist the thought that was creeping up, but he knew he couldn't. As he ran through the forest, he screamed so much that his throat was ready to burst. How conceited, how prideful, how utterly foolish, he thought to himself. He recalled his anger at Roswaal's words and actions for looking down upon, even pitying Amelia. That was when Subaru realized it for the first time. That the one who believed least in Amelia's resolve, Amelia's determination, and Amelia's strength was none other than Subaru himself. Under the guise of kind words, Subaru had decided that Amelia was incapable of doing anything. Just like in Arc 3, Subaru had taken Amelia's place without her asking to. He hadn't changed, he just became better at hiding his wounds. This is a very important piece of their relationship and Subaru's becoming progression that I think really should have been left in the anime instead of this shell of a scene we got in its place. Number 5, and the final one, is going to be Otto versus Garf. This was obviously in the anime, however it was like 2 or 3 minutes, where not much really happened. He runs away from Garf and throws some explosive rocks at him. In the novels, Otto is actually taken down by Garf, stomping his foot down on the fallen Otto as he demands his missing stone. Otto only left, because it would be a waste to give up here, for at long last I have a thrilling role to play, he said. Otto, just like Subaru, had found it amusing to do things people firmly thought he could not, and as Garfield lifts his foot to take him out, Otto asks if he can say one last thing. You have disturbed these woods quite a bit on your way here, Garfield. The residents whose homes you have disturbed say this. You must be punished. The air around Otto began to shine bright, as an accumulation of mana so vast surrounded him, it became visible to the naked eye. The forest had cooperated with him for a single grand blow. Otto cast Aldona. That's right, he actually uses magic in the novels, and it is a massively destructive attack, just a giant wall of earth. He took advantage of Garfield's warrior spirit, the boy granting him mercy to speak his final words, playing right into Otto's big final trump card. It's something that helps paint a picture of a less helpless Otto, as he can not only cast magic, but give him enough time and enough help from the forest thanks to its divine protection, and he too can create destruction, even if it's just a one-time thing every now and again. It also helps us understand Garfield a little bit better, showing that he definitely values the warrior's code quite a bit. Ram also does show up in the novel section, but her impacts read a lot stronger than in the anime, which just depicts the fight as a lackluster punch fest, each hit from her being described as having the force of a cannonball. It gives us a pretty good impression with what kind of strength may be lying dormant in Ram and Otto, just the two people we would consider non-combatants. Please make sure to check out my other 2 videos on these cut pieces of content if you haven't already, as they will definitely give you a newfound appreciation for Season 3's content. Anime Japan should have just wrapped up as this video goes live, and here's hoping we got some pretty good information out of it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can also become a YouTube member, which gives you access to behind-the-scenes content, a badge on comments and livestream chats, as well as the use of emotes and videos before their actual release. You can also check the description for socials like Twitter, where I'm objectively correct all the time, and Discord, where we talk about ReZero, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, and stuff like that. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.